Team, remember, you deserve what you tolerate. As a leader, your actions and non-actions are constantly shaping your teammates and influencing the path of mission success. I need you to lead from the front and invest in your airmen by holding each other accountable to the values that continue to make us the greatest Air Force in the world. You're tuned in to the Breaking Red podcast, the show for rising military leaders who want to trailblaze the future. We tackle the profession of arms with creative solutions to dynamic issues. This isn't your typical leadership course, so be ready to step up your game and define the future. I am your host, Gabriel Gabe Roccavilla. Let's go. Welcome back, everybody, to Breaking Red Podcast. Gabe Rock on the mic once again. Episode 18. Excited about this one. Speaking of 18, just realized doing the math and looking at the calendar, next week will actually be the 18th anniversary of me serving in the world's greatest Air Force. So it's not too shabby for a guy who didn't really know he wanted to join the Air Force until he took a pre-college course and found out that some opportunities could happen through ROTC. Double check with my dad, who couldn't believe it, that I wanted to join as well. And here I am almost hitting 18 years. So pretty cool. It's going to be on December 19th is actually my day of commissioning. It's also the day when Gene and I are going to actually have two teenagers in the house because Benjamin will turn 13. He's like real close to being taller than me. He weighs half as much as me, but his height is probably really close to me. If he actually stood up straight, he probably would be. He has a classic gamer slouch because that's what he chooses to do. But yeah, he'll be 13 and he is looking forward to, he really thinks that he's going to get he wants to have this gaming laptop for his birthday. We'll see exactly what happens. Probably it's not going to happen on his birthday. I know that, but we'll see exactly what other things we will enjoy. He wants to go to Olive Garden for whatever odd reason. So we're going for there. Yes, he has a beautiful Italian mother who would love to cook him Italian food, and he chooses to go to Olive Garden. I don't understand, but it's his birthday, so we'll do what he wants to do. So today's topic was actually recommended by my friend Ricky Nail Diaz. So he's a friend of the show and a longtime friend of the family. Ricky and I met back in McConnell Air Force Base in Kansas. We were actually across the street neighbors, and our families, he's married to Aveda, and our families, both Lana and Benjamin, were born there. And then I don't know if Adriana and Emma were born there. I know Gabriel was born there, but our families grew. I have legit home videos of us and our kids just kind of having a great time. And those are good, great days where, longtime Air Force family and friends that you kind of meet them throughout the career. We were lucky enough to be stationed again at Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam in Hawaii, where we both served on Pacific Air Force's A36 staff. He was on the 3 side. I was on the 6 side. We were possibly one of the only two people who knew how to talk to each other and had that operational mindset to get work done. And so it was funny, we were a combined directorate, yet we're on two very distinct sides of the trailer. And so it almost felt like the nerds and the jocks were put on the same team. Obviously, the 6 is the jocks and the 3 is the nerds. So it was good to see him there. And he actually recommended, he currently serves as the commander of the 9th Ops Group Det 4. He's a U-2 pilot. And he provided the premise for what today's episode is going to be. So he texted me, and I was going to read exactly what he wrote because I think it's a good starting of the episode. He texts me and says, as I'm here waiting for my next flight going back west and reflect on a couple days that I just had dealing with and listening with fellow squadron commanders and O6s discussing issues in our community, the following phrase came to mind: you deserve what you tolerate. You deserve what you tolerate. I firmly believe that leaders need to be bold and lead in that same manner, not only setting the standard, but being the standard that others use to measure. Another good phrase that I'm sure you've heard of is silence means acceptance or approval. As a new commander, I've been given a squadron that lacked leadership and had a broken culture. I've been spending my time working on building a culture based on accountability and making sure my airmen understand their why and understand that we serve for a bigger purpose than ourselves. I read that text and I almost fell out. Like, dude, this is amazing. And I immediately texted him back. I'm like, this will be my topic for next week's episode. So thank you, Nail, for recommending this. And we'll step off from here. So as I said, he currently serves as a commander. And so when you sit possibly the position that you are in the greatest position to make and set conditions very, very quickly is when you are a squadron commander. and it starts at day one, right? Everybody's kind of looking at you. A lot of times people will just start Googling you and finding out some of your background. Hey, do you know this guy or whatever, or this girl? And your reputation is going to precede you, whether you like it or not. But as soon as you get there, though, you're going to have to start, people are going to always be looking at you. That glass bowl effect is in hella effect. So how you lead from the front, grabbing that, I'm stealing / borrowing that phrase from Gumbo, hashtag LFTF, lead from the front, or you don't lead, will permeate throughout the unit. And really it's because just everyone is looking towards you as the leader, and you're going to immediately set the tone for what the squadron, how they operate, and some of the things that just go within not just their function, their assigned function. So if you're a flying unit or a support unit, maintenance unit, medical unit, whatever it happens to be, oftentimes the squadron or the unit will take on the personality of their commander, for better or worse. And so if you allow personnel in your unit to behave in a manner that is counter to what your vision is, and you or someone else within the chain of command doesn't check it, that behavior then seems to become allowable. And it's not. Someone actually has to do. You can't tolerate actions and activities that are outside of your vision. And it's not necessarily you have to walk around and correct everything. It's setting the tone and the culture that we hold each other accountable to that. You have multiple layers. That's why we have the greatest enlisted corps in the world. And they know that they will have your support if you set the tone and the values that are acceptable, and you back them up, and you make sure you give them top cover to hold everyone accountable. The unit's going to get itself squared away, and those intolerable actions will go to the side. It's going to become painfully obvious also, I believe anyway, when an officer is playing it safe as a squadron commander versus doing the right thing for their personnel and the bigger picture. I've shared stories before on my website, projectrise.co, which is in construction mode while I rebrand it. But I can't say I always see. For me, though, I have seen office squadron commanders where all of a sudden their actions start to get a little bit more safer. And when I say safer, because usually they're trying to preserve something that they're personally working for themselves, whether that be a promotion or trying to get in good standing for their rating or their OPR, whatever it is. Almost to the point where, because they're trying not to rock the boat because they want to preserve something that they have achieved so far, when potentially rocking the boat is the right answer because it's going to benefit the squadron. It may put them in not a compromising position, but it could put them potentially in ruin some of the shine that they've earned. But if it's for the better of the unit, that it makes sense, and you should do that. And so what you choose to allow for yourself and not allow for yourself and throughout the unit, those things just happen. They affect more than just yourself. So as a squadron commander, while you have the greatest ability and the quickest ability to set the conditions of what looks right and the right way to enforce and get rid of actions that don't make sense for our Air Force, you also have to make sure that you're doing the things that keep everybody pointing in the right direction. And those things need to be beyond yourself. So I was really happy to see that Nail was saying that he's spending his time working on building the culture and making sure airmen understand that we serve for a purpose bigger than ourselves. That was I already knew he was going to be an awesome squadron commander, and I was very, very happy to see that he continues to do that. So as a squadron commander, it's really easy for you to set the conditions. In my current job right now, I'm a staff officer. And so you imagine where you're operating for basically 2 years of, you don't necessarily have to ask permission a lot because you're in the position to approve things really, really quickly. As a staff officer, you're directly in the opposite. You are now working upstream compared to when you were in command. And so my current job right now, I have to work hard to make sure that I always call it Dante's Inferno, because it seems like I have to convince one boss, to convince the next boss, to convince the next boss, and finally get in front of somebody who can approve it. And it is what it is. And I understand the game and I know how to play it. So I'm not necessarily, I don't get too frustrated. It is frustrating, but for the most part, I understand how it works and I can try and move fast within those frameworks. And also, what I always have to remind myself is that it doesn't matter where you came from before. All that matters is you produce results now. Pretty cool story, right? That you have you're a graduated squadron commander, and then at some point in time, unless you're going to school right after that or something like that, or maybe a deputy group commander or something like that, you're going to go back to being just a regular officer that's needed, and it's built like that for a purpose. We need to give other officers the opportunity to command and continue to build on the successes of hopefully you've put in doing your tour, and then it just incrementally gets better for everyone involved. So what that means is it doesn't matter that like, well, I'm a commander. Nope, stop talking like that. I need to stop thinking like that. I just got to put work in. That's all that matters to me. And so, and I can produce results. So I'm not going to let the bureaucracy that I believe that that is inherent within staff work. I'm not going to let that stop or slow me down. A lot of times, what I believe anyway is that when we are presenting, either our team or a combined team of teams are presenting solutions to problems, and then all of a sudden it seems like an obvious choice, like we should be doing this, and then you get leadership kind of pushback, and it's like, I don't understand where this is coming from. And potentially that's because I'm not read into some of the other moving parts within the machine, but they don't necessarily share those with me, and which is their choice. So all I can do is I can make my own decisions based on what's posted in front of me. So I usually attribute this to fear. It's a fear of failure, or having to ask permission of a double check back with the boss to be like, sir, ma'am, is this something that you're interested in? And potentially being told, no, you're wrong. So it's like hitting you, it'll be a hit to your ego. So there's just this fear of failure, and I don't understand why. Something is definitely holding them back, because the solutions totally make sense, but something is holding them back from taking action. So that being said, I don't necessarily stop. And then I started. I remember the old. If you're of a certain age, I guess, like me, the classic movie Tommy Boy, and so it's where David Spade and Chris Farley are getting ready for their first sales thing, and then David Spade's like, "So you have to remember, we don't take," and then he's like, "We don't take no shit from anybody. No, we don't take no prisoners. No, we don't take no for an answer. Oh yeah, we don't take no for an answer." He's trying to hype himself up. It is a hilarious scene. Just look it up on YouTube, kids, and you'll find out. You'll get yourself immersed in classic cinema, because Tommy Boy is classic cinema. Don't fight me on that. So it's not it's not a thing about ignoring no. If the direct order is the answer is no, that's fine, and you move on from there. But you also need to understand and believe that you can overcome perceived obstacles, because that's all they are. They're just perceived. You might hit a no early on, but then you need to be smart enough to know that, is that an official no, or is that just someone telling me they disagree with my position? And that's okay, because they potentially are not the person that gives the final approval. So that means you still have more room and opportunity to try and get the efficient solution done. And so for now, for staff officers, I don't like tolerating inefficiencies. If I tolerate inefficiencies, that just means we're just coming into the building, we're going through the stupid churn, everybody's just humbling and grumbling. It's like, why are we all accepting this? This is crap. Like, we can all do better than this. So all I can do is control what I can within the span of my control. So I put in the work, produce wins, and make things right. Incrementally, I can't necessarily hit maybe home runs, but I can get on base. I can make small changes that make sense. That way, when I approach the plate and try and recommend a project that could be a home run, they're going to be like, all right, cool, let's swing for the fences, see what comes up. Again, it's building that street cred and making sure within the framework of a staff, you can do that. There is a way to be successful. You just have to not tolerate inefficiencies. So, and also a pro tip as well is, if you come up with things that it's not only for your generated by yourself, but you get the buy-in from more teams. So you get another branch or division to come over and say, yeah, we also endorse this solution, whatever it is, because it has benefits for their teams as well. You almost kind of like, you present that mass, that unity of command, to be like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense. And you have everybody around you, around the leadership, saying this is the right solution. So you're almost making, I don't want to say it could be, you're making your argument infallible. You have all the teams saying this is totally doable. Let's do this, sir, ma'am. And hopefully they see and trust that you've done your due diligence, you know what you're talking about, and you let it ride. So, advice for that, if you're a staff officer, is keep on putting the work in. I know I'm going to keep on putting more work in and earning everything any kind of progress I can make for the team. From a different angle, I actually recently, so again, I'm a coach at Crofton CrossFit, and we're recently going to have a new management change starting in January. So I started to gather some notes and talking with some of the coaching staff, and like we all have some not I wouldn't call them concerns. We just have some things that we'd like to either resurrect as far as operationally within the box, or things that we want to as a coaching staff do together again. So just because we want to make sure that we're delivering the best experience for our members. So I gathered all these notes. I got like, for reals, I put like 8 pages of notes. It was almost like I did a operations assessment for the box. And then I started asking some of the coaches, like, all right, cool. I shared it with them. They read it all. They're like, yeah, this is really good. But I would hold off on sharing it with the new owners. I was like, why? Like, maybe you just want to let them see what they're going to do first before you just inundate them with 8 pages worth of stuff. I was like, oh, okay, noted. I said noted because I still emailed it. I was like, yep, I'm going to share with them anyway. So I send it to the new management. They read it over, and it was an overall positive response. They said, yeah, a lot of things that you're highlighting, we already have in the chamber that we are going to enable and get moving in the beginning of the year. We're going to start some of it now, which is what I was advocating for. I was advocating for a warm start. And so I chose not to tolerate a poorly run box. No, I'm not the owner, but I have a large amount of experience that I could be leveraged on. I can offer as I presented all my thoughts to them, I was saying, I'm not just presenting this stuff to you just to complain or just to put it on your desk and good luck. I want to be part of the solution. And I'm joining the team with a certain level of skill sets, and we'll see exactly where they choose to leverage me and the rest of the staff. So I'm very excited for the new opportunities, the direction we're going to be heading in January. I love being a coach there, and I'm hoping that my coaching style sets an example as far as how we should be operating as a box, and I think it will. Overall, I just have a distinct kind of coaching style, and I think it's very similar to how I lead in the Air Force. Very personal. I actually give a shit a lot. I don't think it comes off as smooth as I want it to be, but it's definitely because I spend a lot of time making sure I borrow the best tactics from being an officer, being a dad, being a coach, and I apply them all over the place wherever I can. So it's going to be good stuff. So I think that's going to be, I want to thank, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Going to thank Ricky for offering up today's content. We miss you all, Veda and the kids, and we need to follow through on our plan. I'm going to put this on my podcast now, so now we might actually have to for real do this. We need to buy a plot of land in Hawaii, build 2 houses community style so we can eat meals together, and then close enough to where we can drive to Waimea Bay, and then we can do our underwater rock carries. That's still one of my favorite home videos, jumping off the rocks and stuff like that, whenever we want. So I miss you guys. I wish you guys the best of luck. I really hope at some point in time, magically, maybe we're going to serve another assignment together, because any assignment is going to be good when you, Veda, and the kids, even though they're all leaving the house. Shout out to Adriana, University of Oregon. Go Ducks. We were blessed to have you in our life when we met, and I'm very happy that we continue to be friends to this day. So, team, remember, you deserve what you tolerate. As a leader, your actions and non-actions are constantly shaping your teammates and influencing the path of mission success. I need you to lead from the front and invest in your airmen by holding each other accountable to the values that continue to make us the greatest Air Force in the world. That wraps up this week's episode. We'll talk to you next week. Peace. This is Gabe Rock, and thanks for tuning into the Breaking Red podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review so we can improve our work and deliver the best content possible. You can find our community platforms on Facebook and YouTube by searching for Breaking Red Podcast. Keep up with weekly content at our website, projectrise.co, and you can find me on Instagram at GabeRock01. Like, follow, and share Breaking Red podcast content everywhere possible, both the good and the bad. Join our conversations with other rising military leaders that aren't afraid to break red and learn how to rise to your potential.